Now this, bhikkhus, is the noble truth of suffering. First noble truth. Birth is suffering. Aging is suffering. Illness is suffering. Death is suffering. Union with what is displeasing is suffering. Separation from what is pleasing is suffering. Not to get what one wants is suffering. In brief, the 5 aggregates subject to clinging are suffering. All right. Let's see here. Okay. So, first noble truth. Right? There is dukkha, the noble truth. Dukkhang Arya Satchang. Satya, truth. Arya, noble. Dukkha, the noble truth of dukkha. Right? And so we have the definition here. Right? Most of you are probably familiar with the definition by now. Right? Birth, old age, sickness, death, sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, and despair. Not getting what you want. Right? Having to, and you know, there's that old saying, there are two tragedies in life: not getting what you want and getting what you want. Sometimes getting what you want is suffering. Actually, a lot of times getting what you want is suffering. Why? Because as soon as you get it, you start to fear to lose it. Right? That's not explicitly mentioned here in this definition, but it is mentioned in other places. So, not getting what one wants, being separated from people, places, and experiences we love, having to deal with people, places, and experiences we don't like. Right? And, of course, as you guys are familiar with our going through the Bhara Sutta, right? In short, the 5 aggregates subject to clinging is dukkha. Right? The 5 aggregates subject to clinging. Buddha calls the 5 aggregates a burden. The 5 aggregates subject to clinging are the burden. Right? Dukkha is the burden. We literally create and carry around dukkha. Blissfully ignorant to the fact that we are creating our own dukkha. Causing our own suffering. When we can lay down the burden. It takes a long time, a lot of practice, a lot of development of insight to start seeing that. So it should not be expected for the average person or even a beginner meditator to realize, oh, I could just lay down this burden. No, that's not how it works. The practice allows you to see that you can do it. Before that, you don't have the option. Right? Before that, before you start to realize that, you're just subject to dukkha. And you look towards the outside. Right? You feel like dukkha is something that is being oppressed onto you. Somebody, something outside is giving me this dukkha. It's like when you get angry and you say, "You made me angry." The average person thinks that is accurate. But the practitioner realizes, like, no. I actually have a choice to be angry or not. At the very least, I have the choice to act out on my anger. All right? It takes a while. It takes a lot of practice to be able to see that you have those choices. Otherwise, you don't. You just think everything external is to blame. But then you start to realize, well, wait a second. I don't need to let myself suffer like this. Why am I carrying around this dukkha? Why don't I start letting it go? As little as I can. As much as I can. Let me let go of this dukkha. Holding on to all kinds of anger and resentment and such. You realize actually that's creating more dukkha for you. You think getting angry at something out in the world is going to stop your suffering, but actually it makes more. It makes it worse. Because it's not coming from out in the world. It's coming from inside you, in your mind. A lot of people don't want to believe that, and that's okay. They can't see it. It's no problem. But in thinking their suffering is outside of their own control and outside of their mind, they actually cause a lot more suffering in the world. Right? And if you're a practitioner and you start to understand it, you say, well, why am I doing this to myself? Yeah, this person hurt me, and they're not very skillful and stuff, but all the rest of this stuff I'm doing to myself. I'm causing myself a lot more suffering, right, than what this person did to me. Why don't I try to let that go? Right? Our dukkha. And sometimes we even love our dukkha. This is my suffering, right? And you become like a professional lifetime victim. My suffering is part of who I am. I identify with this suffering. Not good either. Not good either. Because you're just creating more suffering for yourself. But it's part of our delusion. That's what we do. This is what we do. It's really just trying to find ways to lessen our suffering. All of these things, right, that I've mentioned, they're all wrong. They all lead to more suffering. But we don't know better. We don't know better. The ducks are out. And so this is what we do to ourselves. Right? So this is why it's so important for us to really know this First Noble Truth, to know dukkha so intimately, so subtly, so intricately, that we understand where it comes from, its cause, how it arises, and how we can cease it. So today, friends, all day, I wish you a very spiritually successful and peaceful day. Contemplate, investigate, know dukkha deeply. Until next time, friends. Sukhi Hotu. May you be happy.